We've managed to find a lot to talk about even without college football going on, because just give it a minute. It's like the weather in New England. It will change, which is why, Dan Mullen, I don't know how heavily I want to get into realignment today, only because by the time this thing airs, there could be another conference on the verge of collapse.
Absolutely. Well, it's college football season year round now. That's what it is, right? So it seems to never end. We have in season, then we have the postseason changes and transfer portal, then we have recruiting window, then spring ball, and usually summers. We talked about this before. Is like the negative time where it's like something bad happened to this program or something bad. But this summer now has just been mayhem, and who knows? There might be a brand new conference by the time this show airs or the season starts.
Oh, without question. With everything that's gone on over the last week, with the Pac-12 on life support, in the matter of hours, to now a new Big 12, a new Big 10, and everything going on in between. But the only way that I want to get into realignment today, Coach, is relative to on the field this year.
Yeah.
Because I believe that two conferences that are going to change as we know it. The Pac-12 is probably going to no longer exist. I've already given my feelings on that here on the YouTube channel. But the Pac-12 and the Big 12, and I want to focus on those two for the purpose of this conversation, because I believe the teams exiting the Pac-12, I think USC, if they can find a defense, can win the Pac-12 in their final year and go to the college football playoff. Just like I think Texas, in their final year in the Big 12, I believe Texas and Quinn Ewers have what it takes to not only win the Big 12, but also head to the college football playoff.
I think those teams have chances. And I think one of the things, though, that you look at the realignment, when you have Texas and Oklahoma leaving the league, listen, they already have the big bullseye on their chest from every other team in the league. They're the ones that everyone wants to go after all the time. And it's just a little bit more motivation in the locker room for the other teams this year. Like, they already think the Texas is too good for us. Oklahoma's too good for us. And now they want to leave the league. So I think that's it. I think they're Texas is certainly good enough to make a run. But I'm telling you what, there is not a league I'm more excited to watch than the Pac-12 this year. I don't know where I'm going to watch it. Luckily, you and I will be spending Saturdays together so we can get the Pac-12 network satellite feed to go see it. And the reason the league's not going to be around is I think USC is a legitimate playoff contender. They got to go deal with Utah and who's the two defending
two-time. Beat them twice last year.
Yeah. Then they got to go to deal with Oregon and Washington, who are two explosive teams with veteran quarterbacks and playmakers all over the place. And don't forget about Oregon State that found a way to win with a great O-line, DJ Uiagalelei coming in at quarterback, their running backs coming back. And better than all of that, they all play each other.
Right.
They all, I'm looking and you're saying, okay, SEC this year. Well, Georgia's going to represent the East. That's already done.
Blocked.
And, probably it'll either be LSU or Alabama, you assume, in the West. And that's done. But imagine if everybody is playing each other. It is going to be the most entertaining conference in its final year. The swan song of 100 years of Pac-12 football could be one of the most exciting years in the league.
And that's what drives me nuts about this. Absolutely nuts is when you look big picture across the college football country, and you hit on it. The SEC, we believe, Georgia's schedule. It's still the SEC. You still got to play Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida.
I'd love to see them play Alabama and LSU and A&M or something during the regular season, right? I mean, wouldn't that be fantastic? Like the Pac-12.
It would, and that's why people have been wanting that 9-conference game schedule to see something like that. But I think we agree with the SEC top to bottom, still the best league in the country.
Yeah.
But aside from Ohio State, Michigan, sometimes Penn State, sometimes Michigan State, Big Ten leaves a lot to be desired. The ACC, outside of Clemson, Florida State, NC State can come up and get you. North Carolina with Drake May coming back, Miami, but that's a pretty top-heavy league with 2.5, 3 teams. Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma, Baylor sometimes. But the
TCU last year, there's always a chaser in the Big 12, but not a dominant.
But the Pac-12, top to bottom, you could argue is the most compelling and competitive league in the country. And we just willingly said, hey, forget 100 plus years of history. We know that you've been around in some form or fashion since 1915. Forget all of that. Go align yourselves regionally with leagues that make zero sense. But by the way, be the most entertaining conference in 2023.
Yeah. And it is a shame. And you get into, what drives this, the whole realignment is the money, right? And it's the TV rights, it's the money. And don't think it is just, hey, the athletic department or these people want it. It is the president of the university that's sitting there and saying, if I move over to this league, I essentially just got a massive donor giving money to the school, because the TV money is going to go above and beyond the athletic department budgets. Yep. And guess where that surplus goes? And guess what the presidents, when they sign that deal, is say, hey, athletic department, you get this much of the cut, but the university gets the rest. And what is a shame is maybe if it was one more year, if the Pac-12 had one more year, and I know the TV rights were coming up, and everybody looked at it and said, boy, okay, we're going to go be aggressive. The Pac-12 kind of, they stayed pat. And I know because of the academics that they had and some of the things they had. But there were a couple teams out there that, you look at the quality of football, that they snubbed their nose at Boise State for all those years. Yep. It was a quality football team that people actually enjoy to watch. They could have maybe even thrown in a UNLV, right? With the Las Vegas market and the new football stadium. And everybody can't wait to get to Vegas to go watch football games.
Their biggest miss, sorry to interrupt, but on this line, Coach, their biggest miss was 2-3 years. BYU should have been in this league for the last decade.
I mean, BYU is the other big one. And all of a sudden, you own the West Coast. You maybe get some negotiating rights, and your TV rights were coming up in a year where you're the hottest thing in the country. And you know what? There's more, I know for us at ESPN, we have our deal. We have great football. There's things going on. But the other networks are starting to get more into college football. There would have been a pretty good market for it, I think, to upgrade it a little bit. And I think it would have been a great change, and I would have loved to seen somebody. I wish college football, I'm getting in some trouble for this one, would put the pressure, and it comes with one statement. You have to be in a conference to make the playoffs. At that statement, Notre Dame has a choice, right? They can go to the ACC. They could have gone to the Pac-12 because they play a bunch of those teams. The Pac-12 would have taken them with open arms. And all of a sudden, they are saving a conference, Notre Dame does, instead of being able to kind of say, hey, we're doing our own thing because we get every access, whether or not we join your conference or not. The second they say you have to be in a conference to make the playoff, you force Notre Dame's hand and say, go ahead, pick where you want to join. And that would have really, I think, kept a lot of these conferences in college football alive, because I don't know if Notre Dame would have gone to the Big Ten. I don't think they would have.
You don't, because regionally, now let's stop pretending regionality, if that's even a word, still makes sense. Because if you're talking about regionally, Notre Dame to the Big Ten is a home run.
Yeah, it would be.
And you're also talking about regionally, back to the Pac-12, I'd have added San Diego State.
Yep.
I'd have added Fresno State. I know the academic wonks are going to get in here and go like this, but I'd added San Diego State, Fresno State, BYU, and Boise State. Those 4 teams to make a 16-team league would have been compelling.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.